Hey, I'm Jhone, and you're in the Gen Zone. Welcome to our new home at FOXSOUL. New home, same real, raw, unfiltered politicking from yours truly. And for those of you who don't know me yet, you're about to. For our loyal audience members who might be concerned that our new home means we won't spit fire at our usual suspects because we share the Fox name, that is as far from the truth as my pretty brown is from a Fox News blonde bot. Excuse me while I exercise my blonde privilege. Draconic.
Gen Zone.
Okay, let's get into this. Midterms. The Senate is now evenly split by both parties, but the Democrats are holding on to the House majority like Gollum desperately clutching that ring.
Must have the process. They stole it from us sneakily.
They're only a few Republican hobbits away from losing it all. These are the must-watch states for the November election. But for now, let's focus on these. Thanks to gerrymandering by Florida Republicans, the GOP is expected to gain several seats in Congress, mostly held by far-right MAGA Republicans who still deny the 2020 election results, underage relations, and women's rights and reproductive health care. And while you're at it, you might as well deny that Trump has a wild animal for a hairpiece. Both Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Marco Rubio are up for re-election. But with DeSantis' latest migrant stunt, the Democrats may have a shot at these seats. Listen, if DeSantis can get away with promising $10 worth of McDonald's upon relocation, then the Democrats should raise the stakes and guarantee voters free Chick-fil-A. Wisconsin is essential because they have the possibility to become a Republican triple threat, controlling the governorship, the House, and the Senate. This sounds like the fourth installment of a Morgan Freeman movie. Wisconsin has fallen. The current Democratic governor, Tony Evers, is being challenged by Republican Tim Michels, who proclaims himself as a businessman, not a politician. Very original.
I'm a businessman.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a politician.
Every day, more lies.
It's a rematch. Stacey Abrams and Governor Brian Kemp are head-to-head in Georgia's race for governor. Since Kemp's nail-biting win in 2018, Abrams has been out in the field, making sure she got all of Georgia on her back this go-round. I even heard she registered folks to vote at Magic City.
Get your booty to the pole.
After Bands Will Make Her Dance, she had her own remix ready, Ballots for the Palace. Ballots for the palace, ballots for the palace. Gon' cast your vote, yeah, now that's a challenge. With me, I'll raise your taxes. With me, I'll raise your taxes. Okay, seeing how she's behind in the Democratic polls, the better remix should be, you won't cast no vote. You won't cast no vote.
You don't break, my friend. Come on. You don't break. I really want to see the break, yeah.
The Georgia Senate race will be just as competitive. Senator Raphael Warnock is running against Herschel Walker, a woman beater. A former NFL star that's gone from fumbling footballs to fumbling words. The fact that he's made it this far is mind-boggling.
And I'm just a country boy, I'm not that smart.
Well, that's very reassuring to all of his supporters. Here we have two African-American brothers on the ballot for senator in one of the most racist states in the Confederacy. Years ago, we would have called this progress. But these are not the Negroes that a million men marched for, Rosa Parks sat for, and Abe Lincoln died. You know what? Never mind. Warnock's been accused of not paying child support for his beautiful black children. And Walker has threatened to shoot, at the least, 2 women. These 2 alone have turned Martin Luther King's dream into a nightmare.
Is this it? This is what I got all those ass whoopings for?
With all the legal troubles they've escaped, if politics doesn't work out, Warnock and Walker should start their own law firm. Surveys show that abortion and inflation are the top issues motivating Americans to vote this midterms. Although abortion rights are the Democrats' strong point, the economy is their weakness. Which is more important to you? Don't tell me. Make that decision on your ballot. Show up and vote this election season, because the future is up to you. God damn it. I can't believe I just said that shit. The future is up to you. Okay.
Cheney.
Shout out to Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney. For those of you that don't know, she's playing a central role in investigating the January 6 events as vice chair for the House Select Committee. To be clear, I'm not a Cheney family fan. However, this deserves recognition. She's reminding everyone that she is not to be fucked with. Though she lost her own election, she's now declaring war on former President Donald Trump and plans to unseat all the Republicans that support him. Liz Cheney said, "You want smoke? You got it."
Get fired on these one time.
And that deserves an applause from the Gen Zone. Honestly, I don't know why I'm surprised. This isn't the first time that the Cheney family aimed the gun at their own party.
Shot his hunting buddy in the face.
Cheney.
So the other night, I was kicking it with some friends, and I asked if any of them would vote for Trump the next presidential election. To my surprise, a few said yes. I tell folks all the time that Trump's presidency was both historical and hysterical. Even when he's not in office, he still managed to make history and comedy as the first president to have investigations in multiple states.
We got him.
The DC grand jury is investigating his January 6th involvement. Georgia prosecutors investigating his fake election scheme. Find 11,000 votes. New York is investigating his businesses and tax evasion. And now the FBI is investigating his mishandling of classified documents. But Trump, defiant as ever, made it clear they got nothing, or they would have come for him already.
You're here because you got nothing. You got nothing in court. You don't got the bookkeeper. You got nothing. Nothing. And if you were a man, you would have done it now.
Sad thing is, he might be right. Maybe they can still nail him for grabbing the pussy.
Cheney.
Ooh, it's conspiracy time. This segment of the show is one of my favorites. We have all heard of QAnon. It's actually a mainstream media topic nowadays.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
Supporters of QAnon were out in full force at President.
He posted an explicit Q post. It was the 11th Q post ever.
Where he appears to be publicly embracing the cult of Q, the QAnon movement, which is based on anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic tropes that have been around for centuries, but with some very modern, very, very crazy twists.
Well, we have been on to Q for a long time. QAnon is stating that this fugly man is actually JFK Jr., and that he faked his own death because Hillary Clinton put out a hit on him. According to Q, this is not an accident. The vaccines are the setup for the Chinese and Russian invasion. Trump being the Messiah. Trump being back in office by February. Through their research labs in Georgia, Q has concluded that there is a live organism or something that is self-aware in the vaccines. According to Q, Walmart supercenters are strategically placed all over the world as undercover military bases. Q says, and has been saying, Food shortages are designed by the Democrats to turn America into a communist country. In fact, it was our unique and in-depth knowledge of these people that made us make sure we were actually in D.C. on January 6th.
Our country is under attack in one of the worst ways ever.
The thing we noticed about these conspiracies is that some of them actually kind of stick. Well, according to my QAnon folks, this book outlines the diabolical plan to turn us all into slaves. And the COVID-19 pandemic was all a part of the plan. And that is what gives credence to this next conspiracy. And I assure you, there are many. Next week, we will get into Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. Some of us say we're living in it.
Chenzo.
Oh my God, it's true, y'all. Biden is fulfilling yet another promise. Yep, student loan debt forgiveness. While we appreciate the $10,000, this amount reminds me that Joe Biden hasn't been in a classroom in 2 whole centuries. The last time Biden was at recess, he was playing marbles with Ulysses Grant. His college acceptance letter was sent by Raven. His phone number was 34. When asked what his dream car was, he said, a horse and a buggy. All jokes aside, the action is of course celebrated by those that it benefits the most, while the other half of Americans are pissed that us youngins are receiving the help we so desperately need. The argument is, why should taxpayer dollars go towards the irresponsible debt of an adult who decided to pursue a career that cannot pay their bills? Well, with all due respect, these aren't our housing prices. Even with this low amount of $10,000, Republicans still want to take it to court and fight it. Man, y'all.
Chenzo.
The Gen Zone has gone international, baby. Queen Elizabeth died over a month ago, and we didn't get a chance to give her proper recognition for being the longest reigning queen of the century. I know there's some mixed feelings about the queen, especially amongst our people. Man, the queen, the monarchy, this is America. God bless the queen. May she rest in peace. Not power. She's had enough of that. Our president attended the Queen's funeral, and one of our correspondents caught up with him afterward.
Say what?
So now that leaves the United Kingdom with crybaby-ass King Charles, whose eyes are too close together for him to see that he's not fit to be king. What is this dude even good for? All he's done for the last 50 years is play polo, court controversy, and marry his side chick. Speaking of Camilla, this bitch went from being a fired secretary in the 1960s to being queen consort of the United Kingdom. That is one small step for women, one giant leap for whores. Congrats, Camilla. All of us mere mortals are taking notes from you and Melania on how to grab that bag. That old, saggy bag. But seriously, no real ill will towards the people of England. King Charles's loyal subjects. But this is America. Fuck a monarchy.
This is America.
Keeping things international, I got a whole issue with this Ukraine war. Like, where do we really stand as a country? I mean, if you listen to the America First Republicans like Candace Owens and Fucker Carlson, you'd be confused.
The terms of the deal were simple. Russia would withdraw its troops from Ukraine. Ukraine would promise not to join NATO. So each side would get the thing that it wants most. Simple and effective. And it might have worked. But the Biden administration adamantly opposed this settlement.
What this man is consistently implying is that it's the Biden administration that's pushing this war, because Biden wants Ukraine to join NATO. Candace Owens continues this narrative by saying that Putin is being strategically threatened by NATO. But we'll get into this bitch next week. And that is what makes America great, right? Freedom of speech. And on the other side, our president is calling on the entire world to support Ukraine. On TV, we all saw the citizens of Ukraine fleeing as missiles destroyed their country. President Zelensky famously said he doesn't need a ride, he needs guns. And as of today, we have given Ukraine $16 billion. $16 billion. And another thing that's not sitting well with me, technically aside from the money, is that we don't really even know what's going on over there. U.S. military mobilization in Europe? Is that a thing? The hypocrisy of all of this is so blatant, it's no wonder why our generation is said to not care about anything. It's not that we don't care or that we're lazy. We just see that y'all are full of shit. $16 billion can go to Ukraine, yet certain states are suing the government because they don't want their tax dollars to go to student loan forgiveness. No, they don't want their tax dollars to help feed the homeless or pay for food stamps for the hungry. And I can go on. And some of these same government officials even say it's possible that we started this war. The war that tanked the economy, caused inflation, and made it impossible for us to get jobs so that we can pay these loans, find a place to live, and feed our children. And one more thing about these student loans. The majority of them are held by minorities. Is that why they, because there are so many of you, didn't even want them partially forgiven? No worries. This is why we're about to take over this bitch.
Chenzo.
Oh, y'all thought I was finished? Here's one more thing about Ukraine from the American people.
And I think the FEMA response has just been absolutely weak. I mean, if the Ukraine needed ice, they'd have airdropped it the next day.
Here at the Gen Zone, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of the families affected by Hurricane Ian. If you would like to help those families, the information can be found across the screen.
Gen Zone.
This is the segment of our show that we call Candidates, where we shed light and we highlight those brave people that are running for office and what they can do to make change. So today we have the one and only Congresswoman Karen Bass.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Ms. Karen Bass is running for mayor here in the great city of Los Angeles. So, Ms. Bass, would you be able to share with us what separates you from the other candidate or what makes you different? Why should voters vote for you?
Oh, so many things make us different, but let me begin by saying that I am a lifelong pro-choice Democrat. I have always been a Democrat, and that reflects my core values and how I have led my life. I made a commitment to fighting for justice for my whole life at a very young age, and that's what I have done. My opponent, on the other hand, made a commitment to enrich himself his whole life, and that's what he has done. And 36 years of his life, he was a Republican, and he's gone back and forth between being a Republican and being independent. And in 3 weeks before he filed to run, suddenly became a Democrat. I think that is a reflection of his values.
Awesome. So you would say that you have a commitment to the Democratic Party for years. So we can
No. What I said is I have a commitment to fighting for justice, and that is how I have spent my entire life.
Absolutely. Thank you. Could you share some of what you would do to solve the problem of homelessness here in Los Angeles?
Absolutely. First of all, we have to get people off the street. 74% of the people in tents are African-American or Latino. Black folks are only 9% of the population. We're 30% of the folks who are unhoused. We have to get people off the streets into temporary housing and then into permanent supportive housing. Most important, you get somebody off the street on day one, and before day one is over, you also provide the needed services that the individual needs in order to not fall into homelessness again. Maybe it's mental health, maybe it's substance abuse, maybe it's a job. But you have to address why someone was unhoused, or they will be back out on the streets within weeks.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. So I tuned into your debate, but for those that are watching that may have missed the debate, I noticed that there was a student who was Generation Z who expressed his concern about not being able to afford housing after graduation and that he might actually leave the state. In answering that question, candidate Caruso mentioned that the rent is so high here in Los Angeles due to the costs surrounding building and construction. Was that accurate when he said that?
Well, it is accurate, but it's also accurate that he has been building housing and the rents at his places begin, the cheapest rent is $6,000 because he is focused on building luxury housing. So that is another problem. Priority has gone to building luxury housing and not housing for the average person. The minimum wage in Los Angeles is $15 an hour. That's about $32,000 a year. And at this point in time, that really does not afford rent anywhere. So what I plan to do is massively increase the supply of housing. That will decrease the cost. And one of the ways to do that is to break through all of the bureaucracy that ends up taking so long to build and makes it very expensive.
Thank you for sharing that. It was unfortunate to hear about the recent burglary of your home. I feel like robberies have become more common and dangerous in Los Angeles. Do you have a plan for reducing that?
Well, absolutely. I have a plan. My public safety plan calls for getting officers on the beat, on the street as soon as possible in neighborhoods that would like to have an increased police presence. And the way to do that is to get them from behind the desk. Officers are doing administrative duty that could be on the beat. That way we can get them on the streets as fast as possible. We also need to hire additional police because we're down 200 to 400 police officers because of retirements and people quitting, et cetera. However, in addition to that, I believe in doubling down, tripling down on crime prevention, community-based strategies. And I've done this work for many, many years, but the city has never been significantly committed to this type of work, these type of organizations. I plan to triple down and make sure that communities have the resources they need so crime doesn't take place in the first place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so on this show, on the Gen Zone, we like to keep it all the way 100% of the time. So we want to open the floor and give you the opportunity to keep it 100 with our audience. Do you want to use this time to address anything that you want to share with the youth or any wild accusations that may be out there floating around about Ms. Karen Bass?
Well, first of all, what I want to share is that the type of campaign that we are building is the Rainbow Coalition of Los Angeles. Every sector across race, class, ideology, and geography, we have people involved. We even have a youth component. We have a group of teenagers that are involved in the campaign. And that's what I believe we need to have in order to bring about the change that is needed in our city. In terms of wild accusations, oh yes, there's new ones every day. I had a burglary at my house and 2 handguns were stolen. And unfortunately, my opponent wants me investigated for a burglary that happened at my house. I'm accused of supporting the Scientology because I was at a Scientology event as that they are represented in my district, and it's very common for elected officials to go even with organizations that you don't agree with, and I do not agree with Scientology. I am a Baptist. I have been all my life. I'm sure, wild accusations about a scholarship that I received at USC. I was on the faculty of USC for 15 years. A dean of the School of Social Work awarded me a scholarship that Rick Caruso, as the chairman of the Board of Trustees, knew full well about. I went and got a degree in social work so that I could be a better legislator for the most vulnerable children in our country. I don't know of anybody who's become rich off of a social work degree. And the chairman of the board, Rick Caruso, awarded me with an honorary PhD and invited me to be the commencement speaker for the school. So those are the latest accusations, but I expect many more to come because I am ahead in the polls. And the question for my opponent is, how low will he go?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share with us today. And would you like to share any of your socials or maybe a website for viewers to donate? Would you like to share that with them right now?
Sure. All of the above is at KarenBass.com. And what I would encourage more than anything is please get involved in the campaign. We are going to be doing door knocking, phone banking, texting over the weekends and during the week. People can volunteer. Election day begins October 11th. That's when the ballots drop. That's when you receive the ballots in the mail. And November 8th is when the election actually ends. That's the last day. There is Youth for Bass. That is the component of young people. They're very active. They meet every Monday. And I would encourage any young person that wants to get involved in politics, this is the way to do it, because the coalition that we're bringing together to win this election is the coalition we're going to keep together after the election to help solve LA's problems. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I love that.
Today.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Karen Bass.
Gen Zone.
What I think is the most important task here on the Gen Zone is to present information that you can use to form your own opinions and views on a certain politician or party. And whatever your opinion may be, at least now you're aware of what's going on in our government. Politics affects every aspect of our daily lives. So don't get caught lacking. One day you might wake up and find out yet another one of your rights has been taken because you didn't exercise this one, your right to vote. I'm Jhone, and this is the Gen Zone.